Last night, as I was writing a description for my Oracle page, I began to go into a deeper and deeper trance. I began to have memories surfacing of that first separation from light, when light became conscious after its great expansion. And as I continue to go deeper into this space, not only did the imagery become so vivid that it was almost more real than what was before me, but I began to have these interesting experiences where I would go into a complete and total trance, as if I had just stepped out of my body for a moment, not even aware this was happening. I would just suddenly be in these spaces as if I were living them. The best way I could describe it was as if I was witnessing a remote viewing, because one of them I just suddenly was in a room as if it was a big office, but it was empty. And there was some kind of light outside. It was night, that was shining in, some sort of outside fluorescent light that was softly shining into this room, creating a kind of blue hue amongst the stark white within the room. And in this room were many cots, many different cots, metal cots with white mattresses, no blankets. And at the far end, to the left of me, was a filing cabinet, a desk, and a chair, along with some other things. But it appeared that the main function of this room was for sleeping of some kind. Yet I was the only one in it. And I sat up and saw there was a door across the way that I wanted to go to. And as I was here, I felt like this was normal. This was something I was used to. An experiment of some kind of program, but yet it was my life. And I stood up and noticed I was wearing a white t-shirt kind of gown, a long white t-shirt down to my knees, and that I was a white woman with blonde hair. The ground was cold on my feet, and the room itself was a bit cold. I then made my way to the door and went to open it. But suddenly it was as if I was behind her and no longer looking through her eyes. I was behind her and could see that she was, as she opened the door, she was looking into whatever was beyond the door, and a bright white light was coming in, as if opening a dark room to a bright hallway, a fluorescent light. But I could not see what she was seeing. And then she walked out into it. I could only assume it was a hallway. She walked out to it. And then it ended, and suddenly I was back in my space, still holding my phone as I was writing this that I am about to read you. And that was just one of many experiences. It was as if I was in a stream that was connecting to a bigger collective, where I could peek in different areas of people and their lives and their experiences. And this has already been kind of coming online for me, a new gift, if you want to call it, of sorts. Because I did this accidentally to my neighbor recently when I was outside meditating, and just out of nowhere I just sort of began to trance out, staring into the trees and sun gazing, and suddenly I just could see the other side of my RV, and from my neighbor's side, and seeing it in detail, I could hear him think, are they ever going to do anything with that dog cage? But it didn't faze me, because it was as if I was experiencing it as if I was him, and I was just seeing this, feeling this, and then saw him and felt him walk down the steps. And then I snapped out of it. I was like, that was strange. Why was I seeing the other side of our trailer from his point of view? And then a few seconds later, well, because usually at this time he is at work. He was at work. He's left now. But he would be usually gone to work. So that's why I was like, why am I seeing this? You know, what? Why is this happening? And then a few seconds later, he then walked behind me and my son out of the blue, I guess, to go throw something away at the dumpster. And I was just like, and I had to ask my son, was that our neighbor? And he was like, yeah, it was. And I was like, I thought he was at work. And that's when it dawned on me, I was remote viewing him. And the way that it happened was really interesting. I just go into this place where I sort of trance out, as if I'm no longer experiencing my body, but seeing and experiencing from the perspective of another person, even able to hear what they're thinking. And so yes, that was very interesting. And so for it to happen again last night, but this time in a space with people I've never met, makes me see that I could be seeing something more, potentially. Or maybe just when I go into this train of thought, these streams of thought, these streams of energy, I can connect to anyone who may be connected into that same stream. And see through their eyes and feel what they're feeling. Whatever the case, there's definitely a remote viewing taking place. And I noticed how powerful it was last night as I was writing. Because my writing became, I always intuitively write my descriptions for my pages, for my YouTube pages, but this one took on a whole new life. It became more of an automatic writing than a description. So much so that I went far beyond the description box. And it took me hours to write it because I also kept trancing out in the midst of it. And so I'm seeing that not only may I have a gift in automatic writing, but that this automatic writing creates a response, another activation of another gift of remote viewing. It's really kind of cool. And so I'm going to explore it a bit more. But I'm going to move on to the next message where I will read the stream of awareness, this universal consciousness that began to flow through me last night. And as I think about it and feel it again, I can literally feel its flowing through my entire body, connecting me into that space once again, as if it's right above my head, and at any time I can connect to it. Fascinating. So cool.